Hello again, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Oklahoma Sportscene. Gil, I guess we'll call it our highlight show. I'm Chris Lincoln, along with Gil Cloud and J.B. Haney. Who knew October had 5 weeks in it? So we have months with 5 weeks. We decided to look back and show some of our favorite interviews, some of our special moments, and it starts with your guys hosting the first show back on October 3rd with a Hall of Fame high school and college basketball coach.
I tell you, it was really great to have Ken Hayes. And of course, Ken Hayes coached the University of Tulsa, Oral Roberts University, New Mexico State, Bacone College. He started out in high school coaching and ended up with me at Northeastern. I was so happy that he was our men's basketball coach there. And Ken's got a lot of stories he's going to tell us.
Oh, stories that he could tell are unbelievable. And I go back with him when he started coaching in high school down in southern Oklahoma. So I have followed his, career all the way through. Just a great basketball coach.
Our second show in October was on the 10th. We did our first remote broadcast. We taped our show at Bricktown Brewery. And special guest, Little Joe Washington, the Silver Shoes, the two-time All-American from the University of Oklahoma, 1974-75 national champion. And that guy can eat chicken fried steak.
He could eat chicken fried steak if he could find it.
Yeah.
We told him we were going to tape on Brookside
in Tulsa.
In Tulsa, and sent him the directions, and he showed up at Bricktown in Oklahoma City and called us and got here in an hour and a half and still was on the show.
TU football All-American Jerry Ostrowski was our guest on the show for the 17th, the Big O.
Oh, the Big O was just, and he is now in radio.
Yep.
And has done television, but he was just absolutely great with us, and I think he will continue to be that way.
And the most recent show on the 24th featured an Oklahoma State two-time All-American safety, Mark Morrill. Talk a lot about OSU Cowboy football. We'll be back with highlights of those Oklahoma Sports Scene shows presented by our two title sponsors, Bricktown Brewery and Jimmy's Egg.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover's skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
So our first show for the month of October, I was on the road traveling. Turned it over to these guys, Coach Cloud and J.B. Haney. You had a special co-host and a very special guest.
Chris just left us here by ourselves, and we had to fend for ourselves. But we had to replace him, first of all. So Kevin Ward from The Animal came in and was our third on the dais here. But a good friend of ours and a long-time colleague in coaching, Ken Hayes, joined us. And, boy, Ken had some great things to say, didn't he, J.B.?
And Kevin Ward, he contributed that way as well, too, didn't he?
Oh, Kevin, I've known Kevin for a long time. When I was the athletic director at Guthrie, he was the station manager for the radio station there. They had two employees, him and the general manager. But they did all of our games and everything, on there. So he did a great job. But I'm looking forward to having people listen to what Ken has to say.
And then coming up on week 2, we'll have Little Joe Washington with some of his comments as well.
Somebody that I've known for a real long time, the former head basketball coach at the University of Tulsa, Oral Roberts University, New Mexico State, and Bradley High School. Ken Hayes. Ken, welcome to the Sports Scene.
Thank you, Gil. Good to be here.
You have a tremendous coaching background, Coach. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, I started coaching at Bradley, Oklahoma. And people say, where's that located? And I say, it's halfway between Cox City and Middleburg. And then they shake their head, and I said, well, do you know where Lindsay, Oklahoma is? 6 miles west of Lindsay is a place called Bradley, Oklahoma. It was a great start. 50 kids in the top 4 grades, 23 boys, 27 girls. And, we won 30 straight games my first year there. Ranked second in the state, and God had found him a coach and put him here on earth. Those seniors graduated, and those fat sophomores showed up the next year. We couldn't beat anybody. That was a great lesson for me. That's when I realized how insignificant I was and how important talent is. That's why I recruited hard.
You know, kid, when you talk about that, I've got to think about Hughes High School during that period of time, over 50 years ago. That just doesn't seem possible. But yet, did we not have a good time?
Great memories. I'm going to a high school reunion this Sunday down at Lindsay, Oklahoma. Bradley has been closed for 51 years now, and there'll be at least 200 people there from Bradley alumni.
Well, you were a lot larger than we were. We had 46 in high school, and there you had 50. So that's
give us an advantage.
So, did you end up being the winningest coach in Bradley history?
Probably not, but I tell everybody I was.
So from Bradley, you moved to?
Well, I went to Stillwell. Great experience. I was assistant football coach for Frank Mobra. I didn't know a tackle from a quarterback. I was the only assistant he had, and he was kind enough and a great human being who reinforced a value system and work ethic that my parents gave me. From Stillwell, I went to Bacone Junior College, which was a great experience, and recruited hard. And we finished third in the nation in 1964 at Bacone. And then from there, I went to California to coach baseball, which was, is, and will always be my first love. This is a true story that not many people know. Enos Seymour and I became friends at Northeastern State. He was coaching junior high basketball and B-team baseball at Muskogee High School, and they finally I was the Department of One at Bacone. I did all the teaching, all the coaching, I was it. They're going to let me hire somebody. Enos, come on out. Well, anyway, after a while, okay, I'll come out. I said, now you take baseball or basketball, we're just going to coach. He said, no, I'll be your assistant for a year, then I'll decide. And for 2 weeks, I was on his back every day. Take one. He said, okay, I'll take baseball, my favorite sport. It worked out pretty well for him. He's in the Hall of Fame, so I guess everything is for a purpose.
Well, from there, you went on to?
Well, I went to California to coach baseball, as a matter of fact, and I stayed 8 months. Not because of baseball. I did not want to raise my children in that environment. As you know, it was a time of social upheaval everywhere, and particularly in the Berkeley, California area. And so Joe Swank had offered me a job before I went out, and he brought me back to the University of Tulsa. And you know, I really give Joe Swank a lot of credit for my coaching career. He was the guy that gave me the opportunity, and I forever will be grateful for that opportunity.
And of course, then you went to?
Yeah, I was at the University of Tulsa 10 years, 3 years as assistant, 7 years as head coach, and from there I went to New Mexico State, which was a great experience. We had a lot of success there, and it was a new thing for me. At New Mexico, Texas Western at the time was Don Haskins, as you know, won a national championship. The Lobos up north were very successful. The Rio Grande Valley was just basketball. Football was something they did until basketball started. In Oklahoma, football is number one. They've earned that right. Great success, great tradition. And it was just a reverse at New Mexico State. They had all their success in basketball, and like I say, it was the first time I was ever in that kind of an environment, and it was a great experience for me. From there, I went to ORU, and I often say Ora laid hands on me, and I wound up in Tahlequah, Oklahoma for 14 fun years. And let me qualify that. Oral Roberts was one of the greatest human beings I ever met in my life. I loved the guy. He loved me. It was an unfortunate situation, and great school. Things work out.
Well, you went to Northeastern and had success there as well.
Well, I had a boss there that I had to contend with. Some guy named Gil Cloud was my athletic director. And I had to put up with him for a while, but it was a great time. And Gil was a great administrator. And, he left his mark on Northeastern State.
Well, we had a good time.
Well, you got to tell them about a little of the food.
First road game. We always got $400 for the post-game meal, pre-game meal, that type of thing. And so we got a check, and the day before I gave it to Coach Hayes, and the next morning he came in. We got beat, went to Northwestern and got beat, and he came in, put the check back on my desk. I said, Coach, you didn't beat him? He said, no, we didn't win. That's how it goes, you know. As you don't win, you don't get to eat.
You talk about motivation, man. That's a big motivator.
Absolutely.
I started saying, I'll bet you won the next game.
Tell us about some of the great players you contacted, Coach.
I've often been asked, who is the greatest player you coach? And there's no way in the world I can answer that because they all do different things. You know, one guy's the best defensive player, rebounder, shooter. They do different things. The guy that took it the furthest was a guy named Bobby Bingo Smith, who was, he was a bonus baby in baseball. He signed a football scholarship actually with the UCLA. He came to the University of Tulsa. He played in the NBA for 12 years, and he was by far the best athlete that I can tell you without reservation. He was the best athlete I was ever around because he could do it all. In fact, one day after basketball practice, they were having a track meet over on Harwell Field. He goes over in tennis shoes and still had his sweatpants on and high jumps 6'8", which and tennis shoes and warm-ups. So he's just a great athlete.
I was going to ask you, are there any aspects of coaching currently, because I know you still talk to a lot of current coaches, that you're glad you didn't have to deal with back in your day? Yeah. There's so many rules, and it's impossible. I don't know how coaches abide by the rules because, back when I started coaching, the rule book was about that thick. And when I quit coaching, about that thick, and now it's about this thick. And I'll never forget, I went to a Garfinkel basketball camp one year up in Indiana where all the great players in the country were there for about 4 or 5 days. Obviously, every coach in America was there evaluating talent. The NCAA had 3 guys in the stands to make sure nobody violated the rules. Well, we had a rules discussion with those NCAA people. What about this rule? Well, that would be up to the committee. Well, what about this? Well, that would be up to the committee. They couldn't answer one question. The committee can interpret however they want. So they got a lot of leeway there.
Well, Henry, what kind of memorabilia do you have?
Oh, we got all kind of stuff today. Let's see. Here's a quiz. Y'all remember Swoop?
Tulsa Talons.
Oh, yes. What is the last team that Wayne Gretzky played for?
Tulsa Talons.
Close.
New York Rangers.
You know that stuff.
Nice, Barry. Did he win whatever he wants on the table?
The reason I brought this today, and I have the drop seats today, folks. We'll be right with you. This is a New York Ranger puck signed by Wayne, and I just checked it before I came out here, and that is the last team that he played for. We always do good with baseballs, and here's a Mickey Mantle. And he was Hall of Fame in 1974, and this ball was signed in 1974. So this is a good one. I've got a World Series ball here, signed by Roger Maris. And I have it in plastic because Roger's stuff, is very rare, and this is good to have it. And Joe DiMaggio, always the Holy Trinity, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, and Mickey Mantle. And Ted happens to have a little button. You guys liked the buttons the other day. And just to show you, it's not just the sports figures. Here's a Charlie Pride.
Charlie Pride, all right.
And a Bert Sugar. Bert was here for fight night, and I got him to sign his book and and that. And he just passed away, so it's really a big loss for boxing. And Gretzky, I was telling the guys a story from the Oilers. Gary Unger played with Gretzky. And I had about 50 Sports Illustrated and hockey magazines, all with Gretzky. So I'm going to an All-Star game. Give them to me. I'll get him to sign them. Yeah, Gary, you're going to do that. Box them up. He signed every one of them, and he used 3 Sharpies, and he sent us the Sharpies back. So, and here's something that most people have never seen. Most of you young people out there, you have no idea what this is probably.
And they don't know what they're missing either.
But this is the first magazine of Mad Magazine, first copy of Mad Magazine, which has been a sick person's institution.
There you go.
Since July 1955.
Had it when I was a kid, for sure.
Alfred E. Newman, What Me Worry, that's Mad Magazine.
Absolutely.
So,
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lovers skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
This is our new app, and it'll launch in Tulsa in November, and you'll be able to earn points for free food, specials. We'll have online ordering, and if you don't download the app, you can still order online through our website, so we're very excited about that.
And speaking of food, here's Nancy Smoot, their general manager here at their location at 71st and Garnett. What do we have here? What's this now?
So this is just a 2-egg breakfast, traditional
I want the
breakfast.
skillet. Wow.
You want the skillet.
Here.
Everybody wants the
Hand me
skillet,
the skillet.
by the way.
I'll trade with you.
What?
You want to trade?
Yeah, I want to trade. I want the skillet.
Well, I guess I do.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about my skillet. I love this.
This is a carnitas queso skillet. It's very popular. It has pulled pork, sausage, bacon, and it's on a bed of hash brown scrambled with 2 eggs. Then we top it with Monterey Jack cheese and queso, tomatoes, and onions. Really good.
What is Coach Cloud out in front of him here?
That is a bacon cheeseburger, and it comes on a brioche bun, which makes it extremely yummy. And then you get your choice of one side. All of our side choices are open. We like to let our customers tell us what they want. So if you want hash browns loaded, you get those, or you may want sliced tomato, or you may want, home fries. It's your choice.
Well, I mentioned we're at Bricktown Brewery here at 3301 South Peoria in Tulsa. Bricktown Brewery, our main sponsor and host, and we have with us Heather Bassett's going to introduce us to, there she is. Heather, let's introduce us to Bricktoberfest. What do we have here? Heather Bassett, their general manager.
We have Bricktoberfest. It tapped October 4th. This is a true Marzen style lager. We brewed it in celebration of Oktoberfest, of course. Let's see.
Very nice.
Nice copper color and
beautiful.
Nice and toasty.
Wow.
This is our single string stout.
Wow.
This is a darker beer with the chocolate and coffee notes.
Oh my God, chocolate! I love chocolate.
Our blueberry ale.
Oh, blueberries!
It's
I like
a
blueberries.
light, crisp ale. It has a perfect amount of blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our Old King Kolsch.
Oh,
this is
that's definitely JV.
This is a light crisp ale with balanced with light grains, and it has a low hop profile to give it a nice smooth finish.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Our second Oklahoma Sports Scene show took us out of the studio for the first time. We went to Bricktown Brewery on Peoria in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Heather Bassett, their general manager, was a great hostess for us. We had a very special guest as well.
Well, we had the Silver Shoes King, Little Joe Washington, and boy, did he do a great job. And we're really happy that he came and found us in Tulsa.
And we ate well there, too. And Little Joe liked it, too.
I guarantee you what they gave Joe was just unbelievable. And he got right into it, didn't he?
Loved his chicken fried steak. Joe Washington, the Silver Shoes Man, a special guest on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Silver Shoes himself, Joe Washington, two-time All-American running back, University of Oklahoma. Of course, a Super Bowl champion as well, two-time national champion in college football. Joe, it made me feel old. I covered you in 74, 75, went back-to-back national champions. Great times.
Well, we are old. We are old.
When I said Joe Washington, you immediately said Silver Shoes.
That's right. Absolutely. There's no question about it. And we got this book.
Now, what are the 7 secrets of the silver shoes?
You got to read the book. That's the only way to promote it,
That's right. For those who don't know, tell the story of the silver shoes. I thought Coach Switzer was going to just come undone, and you're trying to hide that from him.
Well, I didn't think of it myself. It was my brother's idea. And when I finally did, paint them silver, and the issues were right off the bat. I'm a freshman at the University of Oklahoma. They've got Joe Wiley, Leon Crosswhite, and Greg Pruitt in the backfield, and I'm wearing silver shoes. So my brother convinced me to do it, but I couldn't do it right away. I had to break in, show him that I belong here a little bit, and then I painted them on a road trip. And it was the only game we actually lost.
Oh, no.
Because I painted them in the dressing room right before we went out to to play the game.
Right.
Now, being a coach's son, I understand all the nuances of coaching.
Yeah.
Now, while I was painting them in the stall, Dan Ruster peeked over the top and said, "Look, Joe, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm painting my shoes silver." He said, "Well, why are you doing it now?" I said, "If I had painted them while we were out practicing and warming up, coaches look at everything.
Yeah.
They would have told me to go change. But I'm doing it right before we go out to play. They aren't looking anywhere close to my feet at that particular point there. But what I think what happened while I was painting them, we're at 5,280 feet in Colorado. The air is light as it is. I'm spraying. Dan's, I know he's a little tipsy because he's over the top doing that. And I'm spraying them, and I'm looking, and Jack Barron's running around hot. What is that smell? What is that smell? So I take blame. No one said anything about the shoes. Maybe because I didn't put the red shoestrings in and the the red accent.
Right.
Red accent. You notice I said accent.
That's good.
And we lost the game, and no one said anything about my shoes, and that was it. But 2 weeks later, I did all of it, and I put them in a bag, and no one said anything until the next day. We were looking at film, and Coach was running projector. Now, granted, he's not the head coach. He's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So he's running the plays back, commenting on this run I made, which was a good run, and I was pleased with it because this was the week I was starting. And he runs it back like coaches do, runs it back. And being the coach's son, as I say I am, he runs it back that 7th time.
Uh-oh.
And I know he's looking at something else. So he flips the projector off, turns around, and says, "Little Joe, what are those on your feet?" And I said, "Oh my goodness." I was waiting for the place to open up and just swallow me. I said, "Coach, those are my silver shoes." And I'm waiting for him to say something else. And he says, "Okay." Turn the projector back on, never said another word. And I knew then that, and a few other incidents, I knew then that he was special. He had nothing to do with my coming to the University of Oklahoma. I didn't meet him. I didn't know him. I hadn't heard of him. But my first few days and weeks on campus for 2 days, 3 days, I knew he was special.
Yeah.
He was special.
Joe, when you look at the years that you played college football at OU, what is the big difference today than what it was when you were there?
Well, times, of course. We didn't have cell phones.
Thank goodness.
No, really.
No social media.
Yeah, plus, the mere fact that, we were always focused. We didn't have headphones or earplugs or anything like that, to go to games or whatever. And I think we were a little bit more so in a tunnel. I think, we were living a little bit more rigid times. My neighborhood, a little old lady used to sit on the porch, and if you got out of line, she'd tell you, and then she'd call home, and your mom and dad knew what was going on before you got there. And I think that more so too has, as minute as it may seem, I think that had a lot to do with some of the guys we had on our football team. We had the Selman brothers. I mean, you could, of course, practice tackling. We'd scrimmage 2 or 3 hours until the coaches got tired. There was no such thing as concussions.
Yeah.
You couldn't hold when you blocked. You had to do this. Now, I don't know about everybody else, but when it comes to holding, I just wish my guys could have held when we played, because with the way we blocked and came off the ball, like Army, did a few weeks ago, I think I'd still be running. I really do. If we could come off the ball and hold, and I think that's that more so. It's just a different time.
Well, Joe, we had a special treat for you here. We're coming all the way over from Norman here to help us at Bricktown.
Joe, this is a Bricktown gift card. And it works over in Oklahoma City, where you were earlier today, or it works here. Thank you for being our guest.
Oh, no, it is
Joe,
my pleasure.
Something special. My wife Becky set this up with Heather. Your own chicken fried steak. Little Joe, look at this.
Wow. Where's you all?
That's for you, Joe.
Oh, I know this is for me. I'm not sharing this. And I can handle this, too. That's for sure. Gee, this is great. I tell you. I don't want you all to get me on camera eating anything. But this is awesome. Well, hey, I would have taken this even over the top, but I appreciate that, you fellas. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Heather. You guys come on in and take a look at their entire menu. It's incredible. And you see, the portions are unbelievable here. So Bricktown Brewery, place for lunch or dinner, and you can't beat it. Believe me, it's fantastic. Ask for Big Mike. Ask for his meatloaf sometime, too. It's great as well. Little Joe, again, thanks for being here as part of Oklahoma Sportscene. Come on now, dig in there. Enjoy it.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover's skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
Also, as a part of our second show, we had Mike Whaley, the Associate Executive Director of the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association, that gave us some up-to-date information on what's going on with them.
Got a very special guest, Gil, a guy you should introduce. He worked very closely with here, Mike Whaley.
I'll tell you, Mike Whaley is the Associate Director of the OSSAA, and Mike been there since 2009, has a tremendous job. Now he's taken over where the Executive Director used to be. He has the 5 and 6A large school basketball, all the football, all the track. He has eligibility and hardship waivers.
Wow.
And then when he does that, he comes to Bricktown to eat with us.
Exactly.
Welcome, Mike. And
my pleasure.
Again, a little more your background, coaching over years, a Hall of Famer.
Started off coaching out there in Sand Springs. It was a Sandite for a few years.
Right.
Took my first head coaching job down in Southwest Oklahoma at Mangum. Went to Southwestern, my alma mater, for a couple of years at Blanchard, and then finished my coaching career as the head football coach at Westmore.
Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure, that you have been all over the state when it comes to football. As a result of that, makes your job a lot easier what you're doing now.
Well, I think so, Coach. I think one of the things when I came to the association was the fact that I'd coached at all the different levels. During that time also, I spent 33 years as a basketball official. So I worked pretty much all over the state in all different classes. And that kind of gave me, I thought, a background of being able to talk to the small school folks and talk to the large school folks and still have a little street cred with both of them. Not a whole lot with either one, but a little bit with both of them. And so it's been, I think, a very beneficial background leading into what I was doing today.
Mike, how many schools are you talking about? How many student athletes are involved in the OSSAA and all the activities?
Well, when we talk about activities, we talk about athletic and non-athletic activities. So on the athletic side, we think we're in the neighborhood of 100,000 kids participating each year. But also on the non-athletic side, we're thinking in the neighborhood of 100,000 each year also. Approximately 480 to 485 member schools, kind of depends on what week it is and who's out there, but it's a large organization that touches almost every community in the state.
I think it does, and I think that's one of the things that sometimes people don't really understand. They kind of look at the OSSA kind of like the NCAA. I've told people a million times, I said the membership passes things on. It's not those people down there making those rulings. In that vein, Mike, what are some of the pressing issues now that the association is having to deal with?
Well, I think one of the things that's been to the forefront lately is our public-private scenario. We have 480 member schools, but 25 of those are non-public schools. And so that could be government schools, they could be private schools. And so dealing with how to balance out the playing field between non-public and public is a challenge that every state in the union is looking at. This isn't a secret just for Oklahoma. It's not something that we're just dealing with in our state. And when we go to our national meetings and regional meetings, this topic is discussed every time. What are you doing with public-private? How are you adjusting public-private? And so to get that balance, that competitive balance where everybody has basically the same playing field to play from, it's very challenging. And I'm not going to tell you that we've got it exactly right, but I will tell you that it's an issue that we continue to look at and we continue to tweak. A couple of years ago, put together a committee that met for almost a year, or over a year, I'm sorry, to come up with a solution to that. Where we're working now is we take some things that have to do with the socioeconomic factors that schools have, and then we also look at what kind of success rate schools have had in the last 3 years, and that kind of tells us what we need to do as far as bumping folks up to a higher classification.
What do you think is going to happen with girls? Are they going to have football? Are they going to have wrestling? I mean, we see this so much on television. We read about it. What do you think?
Well, I think where we're at right now is what our membership has said. There are certain sports that we have no problem with there being co-ed participation. Football would be one of those at this particular time. Probably more because there's not enough football players out there of the female gender to have their own division. Whereas you bring up wrestling, we're getting a little closer to that. We're getting closer to a scenario now where we think it may be time to add a division of female wrestling as a standalone. As far as adding a sport, we already have the sport of wrestling. We already have females wrestling within that classification. Now the idea is it become popular enough that we spread and make it its own division? And in the 11 area meetings that are going on right now, we're going to discuss that. I think the feedback from the wrestling community has been, you bet, let's keep going forward. That's a nationwide trend of female wrestling, and I think you'll find our state right there with it.
When we come back, we'll go back to week number 3 of Oklahoma Sportscene, presented by Bricktown Brewery and Jimmy's Egg. This was our first time to go to Jimmy's Egg. We had breakfast there at Jimmy's Egg at 71st and Garnett, and they had a real challenge. They had to feed the Big O. Jerry Ostrowski, TU All-American, was our special guest. I think you're going to enjoy this. Coming up right after the break.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lovers skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Welcome back to our Oklahoma Sports Scene October Highlight Show, presented by our title sponsors, Bricktown Brewery and Jimmy's Egg. Gilbert at Jimmy's Egg for the third week, and a big host there for us.
We had Jerry Ostrowski from the Sports Animal, and he talked about his time at TU and his time in the National Football League and retiring number 55 at TU.
And was the breakfast not wonderful?
Outstanding. They even filled him up.
Yes.
Jerry enjoyed it. I think you'll enjoy his comments too. Here we go.
Jerry has something in common with what I do and what JB did for a lot of years. Jerry, you're coaching at Holland Hall.
Yeah, I've been there since 2005. Good friends of mine, TU connection, Brian Thompson. He's one of my best buds. We played at TU together. Brian Underwood's over there. We have a bunch of guys that have Tulsa connections, and we just kind of fit. And my kids go there, and you know, when I left football and couldn't play anymore, I still had a connection to it, wanted to be a part of it, so it just kind of was a natural fit.
And of course, a new era in Holland Hall athletics, being a member of the Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association.
Yeah, it was funny. We used to drive down to Houston, a couple times a year to go play, and I remember one of our assistant coaches, we're driving down there, and he goes, you know what? He says, we pass about 15 to 20 schools and we can get our tail ends beat by. We don't have to drive 9 hours to do it. And I was like, you're right. And so it just made sense. We got in the association. It's been a wonderful fit for us. I know sometimes some of the schools get a little antsy because they're playing, private, public, and all that, but it's been a blessing for us to be able to play in the Oklahoma State Association.
Well, when you take a look at who you play, to me, and you mentioned this a while ago, the fact that so many of the schools are not up to the level you are, but 2 or 3 are. So that is a problem sometimes, isn't it?
I mean, it's just part of being we're just trying to, what we look at is when we go play in the state association, we look at ourselves as we try to be ambassadors. We try to do as much as we can for everybody. We know that we're blessed as far as the school goes, and we know that right now in the state there's times where things are tough for some of the programs just because of financial money and being able to hire coaches and things like that. So we try to help out as much as we can with different schools as far as their experience and all that goes. So it's been really good. We've got some really good friends across the board. We've got some coaches from other programs we've become really good friends with, information sharing. We're just all trying to, help one another, because when it comes down to it, JV, it's football. Yeah. And when football's good for everybody, it's good for the state. So that's kind of how we see it.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about youth football and your feelings about that, because there's a lot of things with the concussion being as big as it is today and so on. Jerry, how do you feel about that?
I think youth football is a delicate situation, and I do think that the game is safer than it's ever been. But I also believe that when a kid plays, it's more on the kid than it is an age. And I don't think that you get a kid that's like my youngest son. He was ready to play in 3rd grade. He really was. He was more mature. He was physically, further along than most kids. But my older child wasn't. I mean, he wasn't ready to play until about 6th grade. And I think that sometimes we try to force kids into football when they're not ready. And it's the worst thing you can do. You can't fake football. You're going to get hit. There's going to be, there's going to be ouchies. There's going to be, at some point your son's going to cry and he's going to run to mom or you, that's just part of it. Yeah. If the maturity level's not there and you're forcing this kid to play, you're going to lose a player for the future. And I don't think there is a set time that you should play and shouldn't play. I think it's along the lines of the maturity of the kid. I didn't play till 7th grade. I played next to a guy in Buffalo that didn't play until junior college. He never played in high school. He was sitting on a beach getting ready to retire. He's from Huntington Beach, California, getting ready to retire. And he's like, I want to go to college, but we have no money. What am I going to do? Well, I'm kind of big. He went down to Gold Coast Community College, tried out, made the team, went to Arizona 2 years later, drafted in the 3rd round by the Bills, and plays for 12 years. So, one thing about football, it's, you don't have to start early. Don't listen to people that say, well, if you don't start it in 2nd grade, you're going to be behind. That's ridiculous.
Well, I think the other thing too, Jerry, and we hear this all the time, is that we talk about exposure.
Right.
You got to be at 6A to get the right exposure. Right. The coaches know where the players are. Yeah. There's no question about that.
My son plays 2A football. Both of them did. My older boy went to Drake, and he's playing at Drake. He's a redshirt freshman this year. It's his first year playing. That's where he's supposed to play.
Right.
If he was supposed to play at Norman, they'd have found him and he'd be playing in Norman. I think that people get real tied up, and sometimes I think that the 6A thing is more for mom and dad than it is for the kid.
I agree.
This always comes about. How do you feel about kids playing more than one sport? I know in a lot of places they really want them to play something besides just one sport. What's your opinion?
If you come to Holland Hall, you need to play multiple sports. We'd like to see all 3 seasons. Now, granted, my experiences are with my own children. So my oldest is a basketball aficionado. He loves basketball. He's not a basketball player. So for him to go play basketball in 9th grade was ridiculous. He played up to 8th grade. In 9th grade, he went to the weight room. Then he threw shot and disc. But we want kids to play as many sports as they can because A, you don't know what you're going to be good at. B, if you play one sport over time, over and over and over again, the repetitive motion of those skills, you're more prone to injury and you're more prone to burning out. I think that kids need to experience kids need to experience choir. Yeah. They need to experience band. We have show choir at Holland Hall. My kids have gone down and they sing and dance. It's part of it. They need to experience as much of that as they can because when they get our age, they're not going to be able to experience that same.
All right.
Thanks, I will. Definitely.
I think we've got something special for you.
We have one in
Mindy Landgraf has something for you. What is this, Mindy, for Big O?
We have the ultimate pancake combo.
All right.
It actually comes with flavored pancakes of your choice.
Ooh.
We chose the caramel apple pancakes.
Right.
It's National Caramel Month, by the way.
Outstanding.
It comes with eggs of your choice and then sausage and bacon.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
And Jimmy just made that up.
Jimmy's right here, too.
What's up, Jimmy? Get some nuts? All right, man.
Great stuff from Jimmy's Egg. We'll talk more about that as the show goes on.
All right.
Get in there, enjoy breakfast. We have coming up
Appreciate
Kelly
it.
Hines, by the way.
Hey,
She's the beat writer.
can I just be a part of this every week?
Absolutely.
Will you feature?
Jump in here anytime, Jerry.
All right.
And we have Kelly Hines coming up from the TU beat writer, talk more about Tulsa football and Tulsa sports in general, and a lot more coming up on the Oklahoma Sports Scene as we enjoy breakfast with the Big O here at Jimmy's Egg, 71st and Garnett in Tulsa.
And another guest we had on our show on 17th of October was Kelly Hines, the lead writer from the Tulsa World, who covers the University of Tulsa.
Final minute here. Let's look ahead to TU basketball. Frank Haith, what do you think of this team? I know they picked ninth. Wow, that really surprised me, Coach. Unbelievable.
It's surprising, but then it didn't. I know Coach Haith last month said, we'll probably be picked 8th or 9th, and I laughed. I was like, no, I think it'll be higher. He knows they're just not going to be getting the attention that they probably deserve. But I actually think this will be a better team than last year. They do have to replace Junior E2, but they have a guy named Jariah Horn who sat out last year from Nebraska, who is extremely impressive. I think that he will be a consistent threat. And they have so much more length on the perimeter. They have a guy named Zeke Moore, who's a 6'7" guard, a shooting guard. So they have definitely some really good pieces. It's just going to be like everything else, got to put it all together. But I think this is Frank Haith's most talented team at Tulsa.
Well, Mindy, we really appreciate you being here with us today. And once you come back to Jimmy's Egg
I definitely
again.
will. Thank you so much.
You bet.
I love this place.
Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Kelly Hines, a TU beat writer, give me some insight on TU athletics. By the way, and the Tulsa Oilers got off to a great start with their season. We invited their coach, Rob Murray, to come visit with us. Lots of new faces, only 4 players back from last year, and a team that just missed out on the Kelly playoffs.
Yeah, well, I made a few changes this year from, I kind of kept the core group. We had a couple of guys go overseas, play in the British league. That's kind of normal for our level. Guys go, either they stay here, or if they can't make it in the American League, they'll play in Europe or over here. And then brought in a lot of new players, and we've got right now we've got 3 guys down from San Diego, the American Hockey League, and then we've got 2 guys down from, well, actually, I shouldn't say that, 5 guys down from San Antonio. So we've got 8 contracted guys, American League contracted guys on the team. So that makes up quite a bit of the roster right now. But I like what we brought in and how we look the first couple of games.
You have a lot of new faces playing. Always comes to mind the fans. Who have they really adopted quick, and have they really enjoyed being adopted by the fans?
Well, I think that I know the guys do. I think the guys love the interaction with the fan base, especially our booster club and our season ticket holders. The guys that are still here, like Adam Pleshkash, our captain. He's just loved by the community and does a great job. He is, he's the face of the team. The new guys, they'll warm up, or the fans will warm up to them quick enough, and they always do. There's so much transition at this level that you're not going to get a guy that stays around for 7 or 8 years. It just doesn't happen. And, it's just it's the nature of the beast of this level of hockey. And so a guy like Adam Pleshkash is actually goes against the rule. He's been here, I think 5 or 6 years now. So it's nice to be able to have a guy like that is the face of the team.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover's skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
The 4th week of October, we're back in our Peak One studios for our show brought to you by Bricktown Brewery with a special guest from Oklahoma State University.
2-time All-American Mark Moore, who played for Pat Jones at Oklahoma State, will tell us about homecoming.
Mark, glad to have a Cowboy on the show. And again, give us a bit of your background, how you got to OSU and about your career at the Cowboys.
Well, I grew up in Nacogdoches, Texas, a little small town in East Texas. Good football programs down there. And Pat, matter of fact, he wasn't the one that recruited me. Reggie Herring came down and recruited me. I think they was looking at some other guys, and I just kind of happened to stand out a little bit. And took a visit here, and after my first visit to Oklahoma State, I knew this is where I was going to go. I had a little bit of chance of going to Arkansas, and took a bad trip there. Well, I guess a bad weather trip, because I got there and it was just too darn cold there for me. So I decided to come to Oklahoma State, and the best thing I ever could have done in my life.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So during your career, tell us about your success team-wise and individually.
Well, team-wise, I got there at a very good time. We had some great guys. I understand we had like Leslie O'Neal, John Washington, James Ham, just a tremendous defense. And back then, that's what the Big 8 was about, playing tough defense. And so we had some guys that would kind of go out and get it. And so we did pretty well. We started off a little slow my freshman year, but kind of gained some momentum. That's when we had Jimmy Johnson there. And then, of course, Pat Jones took over my sophomore year. And that was the best thing that could have happened to us, for him to be the head coach. And I think we would have had a mutiny there if he wouldn't become the head coach there after Jimmy left. But Pat was a good defensive-minded coach. He was the defensive coordinator my first year. And Pat was all about just being aggressive on defense and, and just getting the best he could get out of the guys that we had there.
And you're back with Pat Jones now.
Yep, back with Pat now. We're doing Coach's Cabana, and this is my third year. I think this is my third year with him.
It's on Cox, of course.
Yeah, it's on Cox, and we do all of Oklahoma State's pregame show. It's like a 30-minute segment. It comes on 30 minutes prior to the game that they're playing, and it's a wonderful show. We have Allison Gappa, which is with Oklahoma State, and she does a great job keeping Pat and I in line. So it works out well for us.
I've always said the easiest job I ever had in broadcasting was to do some of the sports animal shows with Pat.
Yeah.
Coach, what do you... It was over.
And that's over with. And that's what we do. We kind of sit there and we talk about what we're going to have for dinner afterwards, and just let Pat kind of do his thing there. But no, great guy to work with, a very, very professional. Just a wonderful coach. I know I wouldn't have been a 2-time, 3-time All-American if it wasn't for Pat, because he knew exactly what buttons to push to get every ounce that he could get out of me.
So when you finished your career there, you went to the National Football League. Tell us about that.
Yeah, got drafted by Seattle Seahawks in the 4th round. They didn't have a 3rd round pick, so I always say I was a 3rd round pick. Didn't get 3rd round money, but I'll take it. But got drafted by Seattle as a defensive back safety there. Had Chuck Knox, which was a wonderful coach there. Professional organization, first class. Can't say any more things about them. And they've taken a lot of Oklahoma State guys over the past couple of years. Since I was there. But wonderful people, wonderful city. I was just there too this past week. I went for about 2 weeks, and the weather was just perfect. I heard y'all had all the rain here. I went there expecting rain, but y'all got all the rain here. But Seattle. first NFL team for a guy coming from a little small town was just probably a perfect situation for me. And the fans there are just great people.
What's your opinion of what's going on with the Cowboys right now?
Right now, I hate to say it in the middle of a season, but it's a rebuilding year. It looks like it. Pat and I talk about it so much, during the coaches' cabana. We just can't understand why the offense is as stagnant as it is, and the defense not playing as well as they should. I expected the defense to be a lot better than they were. But right now they're just not clicking. I mean, there's some, I can't even put my hand on it right now. I wish they would try to get the ball to Justice Hill a little more. And I understand the offensive line is just not there. They don't have the manpower that they need. But, you got the best back in the country. Just give it to him and just see what he can do.
Well, all they got to do is call Jim Traber.
Well, there you go.
He had it all figured out.
Well, Jim does, but I don't think Pat thinks that Jim does.
Well, what was funny, interesting, driving over here today, I heard Jim and Pat on the radio together. Jim's over here today for a remote, and he said, I just got to call him. I don't know what we're doing. We got to change quarterbacks. Of course, he's been saying that for 4 weeks.
Well, I mean, the quarterback change. I mean, you look at TCU this past weekend. They did that, and I hate to see anybody get demoted, but it's about winning. It's about productivity. So if it's not getting done with one, maybe try another one, because you got the kid there. You already know that you're going to redshirt him. That's number one. And plus, I mean, you got those 4 games now. Put him in, see what he can do, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's fine. You can go back to where you are.
Like Coach Jones told me, he says, I know Mike Gundy well. If it's a 5-year-old, you'd win with. He'd put the 5-year-old in the lineup.
Oh yeah.
So it must be something. This kid either is, and he's third string. He's not getting the reps right now.
Well, but the thing is, and I can understand Mike's point of it. It's that you have the senior here. Okay, he's waited his turn for as long.
Sure has.
And so you have to kind of give that.
Well,
to
one
him.
thing you can say about Coach Gundy, I don't think there's any question, and I think you would echo this, is he is a player's coach.
Oh yeah,
he's there for when he had the breakdown that I'm the man, I'm 40.
Yeah, and that's taken.
That sold those players.
Yeah, it sold the players, but then I think you have to take it on the players. They got to be the ownership of this right now, because when you have a coach like that, you got to go out and give more effort than I think that they've been given.
Yeah.
When you take a look at what they're doing, do you see anywhere that before the end of the season they can kind of go back and recapture what they had at the beginning?
The only reason I don't, the schedule is just too tough for them. It's just, and I hate to say it, and I bleed orange till the day I die, but the schedule is just set up for them right now that it's. I hate to say it's just a failure for them this season, but it's going to be hard for them to get off the mat, because it's just too tough from here on out. You got Oklahoma, West Virginia, and you kept in those two, I feel, and then plus Texas. I hate to even think about Texas. And Texas, they surprised me. I mean, I didn't expect for them to. I expected them to start doing better. I didn't think it would be this soon.
The Cowboys have always had great success, though, against Texas, especially down in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
I am for homecoming in Stillwater this Saturday. What are you expecting?
Yeah. Well, I hope Oklahoma State does what they normally do. Lose to the teams that they shouldn't lose to and beat the teams that they shouldn't beat. So that's what I'm looking for this weekend. But they're really going to have to play great to beat Texas. They just have so many weapons on offense, and their receivers are just so big and fast and tall. And with the corners that we have, it's going to be a difficult day for them, I think, on defense.
Playing with a lot of enthusiasm, too, because of their success.
Yeah, and that'll help. And I hope it'll help with Barry being there and everything else that's going on around.
Barry Sanders, kind of the homecoming king or something, back for the parade. Homecoming is a very special time in Stillwater, isn't it?
It is. And I really didn't realize how much until I stopped playing and I was able to go to all the festivities the night before and stuff. And that's just an amazing place. I mean, they do such a great job with it. Everybody kind of pitches in, and to see all the fraternities and sororities and everything. So it's really a big thing for Oklahoma State. And like I say, it's a momentum deal. It helps the team, I think, to see all the new guys coming back, older guys coming back, and everybody participating in the whole weekend.
7 p.m. kickoff. It's on ABC as well.
Yep.
You've seen a lot of changes on campus. It's amazing what the facilities you had to what they have now.
Oh yeah. If you can't win with what they have right now, because when we were back there, we were at the bottom of Ivor Hall, and nobody ever knew we was down there, and it was just as hot as it could be. But no, they have a first class facilities there. I mean, and it should help with the recruiting. And I understand Holder's on mic about recruiting and all this stuff, but you have to have the product on the field. I mean, kids today, they're looking for the flash, they're looking for this. So I think they got to just cater to the kids that are coming out of high school and just try to go out and just get the best talent that they can. Because I think that's one thing with us. I think a lot of times they kind of sit back and they kind of just settle on some certain guys instead of going after the premier guys. But that's what you got to do to win in this conference this season.
One of the things about recruiting is, and it's difficult when you get out there and you get your nose bloodied so many times. You do what you say.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can sign this kid. I know I can sign this kid. I don't know if I can sign that kid. And that gets you in trouble every single time.
And I think that's really kind of what Oklahoma State has been. I think they just need to just let it all lay out, put the cards on the table. You just never know about kids these days. I mean, this might be something that they see that, the coaches are not seeing, that we're able to get this kid here.
And, of course, we had Steve Spavital from Broken Arrow. He was a head football coach at Broken Arrow, but also many other schools, a great football coach.
How long have you been at Broken Arrow?
About 11 years now. About 11 years. I came.
During that time, Steve, you've seen a lot of changes. What's the biggest change that you see now with the success of the football team?
I think a lot of it's just the commitment of the school. When I first came there, I actually wanted to quit and go back, because it was just there was just no commitment to it. It was like a really small town mentality, which
in the biggest school in the state,
and didn't want to grow. And so we were fighting a lot of battles. You're fighting battles with the kids, fighting battle with the practice habits, fighting battle with the administration, fighting battle with a lot of things. And then finally, things just started coming together.
We finish up our Bricktown Brewery Jimmy's Egg October highlights by taking a look at the Remington Report. This is brand new from Dale Day, though, what happened this past weekend at the track.
The 2018 Thoroughbred season at Remington Park has just passed the halfway mark. Let's go ahead and take a look at the leading horseman standings, where there might be a new leader in the jockey colony. David Cabrera has been riding at Remington Park on a regular basis for just a couple of years. His talent has drawn the attention of top trainers and owners, winning with regularity and on some of the top stakes winners as well.
We came over here. This is the year that I have more opportunities than what I have the last couple of years. A lot more trainers are giving me the opportunity. I think it's going great. I didn't thought it was going to be as good as it is, but I'm very happy for it. We keep working hard every day, and we want to stay up there and win as many as we can, that's for sure. Try to do our best.
A look at the jockey standings through October 26th has Cabrera on top with 55 wins. Richard Aramia is next with 40 wins, while five-time defending riding champ at Remington Park, Ramon Vasquez, is third with 35. 13-time leading trainer and National Racing Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen is on top of the trainer standings with 50 wins. Carl Broberg is next with 34. Federico Villafranco has 25. He just picked up his 300th Remington Park win on October 24th. Danny Caldwell of Poto, Oklahoma seeks his 10th Remington Park title for leading owner and is first right now with 25 wins. Close behind is End Zone Athletics of Mansfield, Texas with 21, and Tulsa attorney Clark Brewster is third with 10. Make your plans to attend Remington Park for Breeders' Cup Saturday on November 3rd. Simulcasting from Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky will begin at 9:45 a.m. with those World Championship races. Remington Park Live takes place at 1:30 p.m. on November 3rd. At Remington Park in Oklahoma City, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sports Scene.
We hope you've enjoyed our look back at some of our Oklahoma Sports Scene shows for the month of October and shared some of those memories with our very special guests.
Be sure and tune in next Wednesday on November the 7th, where we start again in November.
And thanks for watching and reminiscing with us on Bricktown Brewery and Jimmy's Egg, Oklahoma Sports Scene.